Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to set up, we want to be able to talk to the rabbit. So what are some of the things that we need in order to talk to the rabbit? What kind of, tell me some of the stuff we might need to put on the screen. Yeah, Isaac?
Text field.
Yeah, text field. Very good. So in here, I can search up here, so UI text field. And I'm just going to drag it on the screen here. Okay, so now I'll be able to type in there. What else might I need to chat with the rabbit? Okay, so we got the text field. I can, yeah, Gina?
A button to prompt you to chat with them.
A button to prompt you to chat with him? Okay, so do you mean like a button so like I can send the chat? Okay, good, excellent. So here.
Or like if there's a goal, you don't really need a button to start the chat.
Okay, so we'll say like maybe like a send button, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what else do I need? So I can type in, I'll send my chat and then what, yeah?
They text the pop-up.
Text to pop up, so I need a place for him to talk back, right? Okay, so that's what's called a label. Okay, we can put that right here. And I'm just going to put in a sample little message for now. Let's make this label big. I'm going to drag it all the way here. And what's nice about this is I can select this, and over here on the side, I can select things like, you know, center justified. If I wanted to, I can make the text a little bigger, like 20. Okay, great. Now, the next thing I need to do is I want to be able to put some sort of text in here when I hit this send button. Okay, so in order to talk to this, because this is just a static, like what's called a view controller, which is like an activity in Android, right? But I need to make a code file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new Swift file here. New file. Okay, and we're going to call this... Actually, we've already done that for this one. No, we haven't, because this is a brand new project. So there we go. Okay, we'll call this... what would be a good name for this file? What would you call this controller? Like something so you'd know what it was.
Chat file.
Sure. Or how about it has the rabbit on it? We'll call it rabbit view controller. Got rabbit. Okay. Excellent. Okay, create that. Save that. Okay. Now, this is just like your Android Studio. This is just like your Java part. This part is like your XML, and this part is like your Java here. Only in iOS, this is called Swift instead of Java. And instead of XML, this is just called it's called your storyboard here. Okay, so if I want to talk to something, what I can do, what's really nice about iOS, if I want to get establish communication between here, the storyboard, and the Swift file, what I can do is I can just I just control drag up here. Boom. Put it there, and it's going to ask me to name that. So we're going to call this the response, right? This is where he's responding. Response label. Boom. Now that's in there. It's called response label. I can talk to it now. Okay. So for my button where it says send, I'm going to control drag. A lot of control dragging in iOS. Control down there, but instead of an outlet, I'm not like creating this variable. It's going to be an action. I want it to do something. So the name here, a lot of times in Android, we're like on this, on that. Remember those listeners? This one we do did press send. Same thing. It's just like the common kind of like language that you use, right? It's just sort of like Android or it's like Spanish and French are both like Latin languages, right? So there's a lot of similarities, but some differences, right? So this is the same thing, but we just call it did press whatever. So this is did press send here. Now in here, I can, so the first thing I want to do is I want to just set that label to something. So I'm going to say response label. Again, look, we got this nice autocorrect thing. Cool, there it is. Or autocomplete. Response label dot text equals hi there, right? String goes in between quotation marks. Look how nice this is. You're going to be so jealous, though. All right, when I want to run this, watch this. Run.
Whatever.
No, it's not. It's not up yet. Oh, simulator is in use. Let's see here. Okay, hold on. Oh, wait, hold on. I got the wrong size here. Okay, here we go. Let's try it one more time. Boom, loaded. Back quick. Okay.
Whatever.
So let's see if this actually works here. So I'm going to hit send. Boom. It changes our text to hi there, right? Okay. So now let's see if we can. We've set this based on this button. Now let's see if we can take what somebody types in here, and then when we hit send, we're going to transfer this to there, right? Just so now we have a relationship between all those items. Okay, so in order to do that, first we need to be able to talk to this. So we have to establish a line of communication. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to control drag up here, and we're going to name this. So this is a text field. We'll name this, say, chat field. Okay, and then connect. It's nice and easy. So now we can talk to this in the rest of our app. Okay, so response label.text, we set it to something, we like hard coded it to hi there, but I don't want it to be hi there. I want it to be whatever we typed into our chat field. So to get at our text, we just go dot text, right? So now response label.text is going to equal chat field.text. Let's run this and see if that works. Okay, so let's type there. Hi, Gino. You are a punk. Send. Boom. Okay, so now we've taken this, and on our button, we've had it there. Now that's all well and good, right? But let's have the rabbit say something based on what we've typed in there. Does anybody know what kind of general kind of programming thing we can use in order to do something? Yes? An if-then statement, right? Does anyone know what the general kind of like term for stuff like if-then is? It's called a conditional statement, right? Because we have a condition. Like, if this condition is true, then this. Otherwise, do something else, okay? So, exactly. So let's do that here. So I'm going to go here. So before I do this, let's say, if, what do you want to say? So we can say, okay, if response label, or I'm sorry, if chat field dot text, and we use the equals sign here when we're actually assigning it, but if we want to see if something actually equals it, we actually use two equals. So that means if it is equal to this, right? So what if it's equal to what? Let's if, what do you want to say to the rabbit? What's one thing you want to be able to say to the rabbit? Die, okay. If chatfield.text is I'm going to stab you, okay, put a curly brace, then what do you want the rabbit to say? So we'll say response label, this is what the rabbit's going to say. Dot text equal, we'll set it to some string. So what do you want the rabbit to say here?
Does it say back? Same thing.
Not if I stab you first.
Okay, I like that. Not if I stab you first. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and run that and see if that works. Okay, so what did we say? I'm going to stab you. Oh, okay. So what happened? Not what we expected, right? Yes.
It changed it to notify you first, but then since you also left the other code there, after it changed it to that, it then changed it to whatever you typed in. But if you put the response, you can get rid of the response label with text. But if you put it above the other, then it'll change it to that if there's any.
Very, very good. Yeah, so it's this, right? So remember, these are happening so fast that technically Isaac's right. Yeah, it like literally for a split second, a split of a split second, changed it to what we want. But then at this, it ended with that, so it changed it back to that. Very good. Let's try to run it again. See if it happens. Cool. All right. So I'm going to stab you first. Okay. Let's get a couple more things in here. So if we want to get some more stuff in here, what we can do is else if, and then we have another condition. So else if we want to talk to the chat field. So chat field.text is we use the double equal sign because if it equals this, okay. So what else do you want to be able to say to the rabbit? What's your favorite food?
I was gonna say my Python code, but I forget it.
Okay, what's your favorite food? We'll do the open curly brace, and it's nice enough to give us the other one. So else if it's equal to that, then what do you want the rabbit to say? What will it respond with?
Rabbit stew.
Then we'll say response label dot text equals rabbit stew. Okay, excellent. Now, okay, so let's try that. All right, so first we're going to say I'm going to stab you. Not if I stab you first. And then, okay, now this is already kind of a little bit annoying, right? Now I have to delete all this. So just think about maybe how we can solve that.
Is there a way to highlight the text so you can delete it in one?
Yeah, but what if it was just already deleted for us? Wouldn't that be nice? Like when I send it, it should just be like, out, right? Okay, so what was the other thing we said? What's your favorite food? Rabbit stew. Now, what if I type in something here that it doesn't like necessarily know, right? Like, what's your favorite color? You think it's going to crash? It's just not going to do anything, right? Because we have...
Right, because it's the blood of my enemies.
Yes, Isaac?
Is there a way to like have it? So like, could you type in say blah 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 and then and have it recognize the say part of the string and then have the bunny repeat the rest of the string?
So have like a keyword that it looks for, and if you say, then it repeats exactly what you said?
If you say, then it repeats everything after say.
Yeah, there would be a way to do it. We'd have to look in the text and say like if, you know, the first word starts with, you know, is stay, then do that. So yeah, that is something you can do. What can we do to our conditional statement here to basically like kind of a catch-all, right? Like we have two things that we have responses for. But what if somebody types in something that it doesn't have? Can we have like a catch-all response? How would we do that? We have if, else if, and then what's sort of the catch-all in an if-then statement?
Else.
Just else, exactly. Okay, so else, what do you want him to say? Like if it's just something that he doesn't understand.
Despite my big ears, I could not hear you.
Okay.
You could just put what in all caps.
Response label dot text equals, I like Isaac's. Despite my big ears, I did not hear you. I'm not sure if that'll fit in our thing, but we'll see here. All right. So let's see if that... Okay, so the only issue here is that it didn't... It's not expanding here. So what we can do...
You can shrink the text.
Right? We can shrink the text. That's one way to do it. For now, let's just do this here. Okay. Not as clever as Isaac's for sure. Okay, I did not hear you. Right. That's going to catch everything else. All right. Now, what about this problem about this? How when I send, I still have all this text in there. What can I do about that?
Delete text on
Okay, so delete, what I can, instead of deleting, what I can do here is on each of this I can say chat field dot text equals, and I can just put an empty string in there, right? Just nothing in there, and that will it'll put an empty string, which will in effect erase it. Yes, Isaac?
Could you put that like after the whole if-else statement, so that after it runs all that, then it changes it? That way you don't have to.
So it doesn't no matter what. That's a good idea. So for things that it's going to do automatically, let's do that. That's very clever. So let's put that here. So it's going to run any of these, and then this is in line after the if statement. So that's a good idea. Let's run that. Cool. Yep.
We should have a rabbit swear at us just for no reason. It's like, what's your name? You.
Am I typing in that in wrong?
What?
Okay, rabbits do. Okay, excellent. Okay, so now another thing. What's another kind of like weird thing that's making this seem a little like less like a real like texting, like the rabbit's really doing it? Isaac?
If you have to say the exact string.
Okay, yeah. So there's that. That's kind of a little lame. We're not going to solve that here, but there's a couple of different things. Like maybe you could say you could use or, like if it's this or this, you know, and you could capture like a bunch of different things. You know, that could be a possibility. Another thing too is you can convert the input into say all caps or all non-caps, and then compare it, so you're not going to get, you know, caps issues. Because right now it's like literally if you type in a capital and it wasn't expecting that, you know, it doesn't know that. Yes, Solomon? So like just look for keywords instead of the whole thing. Exactly. Yeah, you can do that. What about the rate that he responds? Is that a little like I'm going to stab you. Okay. So like it would be like if I talked to Gino, like Gino, I'm going to stab you, and then he's just like, not if I stab you first. Like, I mean, maybe he's that quick. I mean, Gino might be that quick, but others may not be. So I heard something. What was your suggestion?
What?
Did you know the fake loading part?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that. So fake loading, we can use a delay. Now, for whatever reason, there's not kind of like a built-in like delay type thing, and you can make one, but it's kind of a little ugly. So what's nice here is I actually have this file here that I've already kind of pre-made, and it has the this is like the right here. This is the function for delay. Okay, so it's not like too bad, right? It's a closure, dispatch after, dispatch time and stuff. But rather than having to do that, and you can do this with all kinds of functions that you write, like that you want to do stuff. If you do them all the time, you can write your own custom one, and then you just put it in a file. And then now I'll show you how to access delay. It's a lot easier. So let's go back, and in here, let's do that. So let's say before it responds, we're going to say delay, and this is going to be the amount of time. We'll say 2 seconds, and then code. That's where our code goes in here. Okay. So it doesn't. All right. When you put it in a closure, there's this thing where you have to call it self dot something. But luckily, Xcode's like, hey, do you want to put self in here? Technically, you have to. And you're just like, yeah, sure, whatever, Xcode. Fix it. So great. Let's try it one more time. So let's say I'm going to stab you. Send. Okay, now wait for it. So, okay. So a little more realistic, but it's kind of like, is it thinking or is it just like stuck in a way? What would be more like, what usually happens when stuff actually is thinking? Isaac?
Like if you put like a little circle going around, but wouldn't there also be a way for like the text like fill in N-O-T space I?
Oh yeah, yeah. That would be a good to have that, like each letter, like he was actually typing it in instead of just bah.
Are we
right?
making a sentient cannibalistic rabbit?
Yes, we are. Okay, you saw right through it. So yeah, so I like the indicator. Let's do an indicator. So iOS has this awesome indicator thing. Check it out. If I just look over here, if I search activity indicator, I can literally just drag that on to the screen here. Where should we put it? Maybe like right above where it talks? Right in the center here? Okay. So this indicator is like your little swirly thing, right? Your little indicator.
Okay, one of my some rabbit legs.
All right. So just like anything else, the indicator is a thing, and it has certain properties that you can address. So in order to talk to this, I'm going to need to control drag up here, make an outlet to kind of introduce it to the code. I'm going to call this thinking indicator. How do you spell indicator? Is it with an O-R? No, yes, O-R. Okay, thinking indicator. Awesome. So now, down here, I can say, oh, one thing about the indicator, you can do this thing, hides when stopped. That means when it's animating, when it's moving around, it shows, and then once you stop it, then it's going to disappear. Okay, so I'm going to click that hides when stopped. Now down here, I'm going to go and say, do I want to turn the indicator on after the delay or before the delay?
Before the delay.
Before the delay, because I want it to be going while the delay is going, right? So good. Okay, so I'm going to go here right before the delay, and I'm going to say thinking indicator dot start animating. We have start animating and then stop animating. So you start animating. Then after the delay here, we'll say stop animating. And just kind of like Isaac said, since it's something we want to do for everyone, right? We're always going to want it to start animating no matter what. We're always going to want it to stop animating, right? So outside of the if, we'll put thinking indicator dot stop animating. And actually, let me move this one outside the if, right? Okay. So that way, the thinking indicator starting animating is outside the if, because it doesn't matter if this or if that. If you push that button, it's going to think about what's in there, right? And after it figures out, after the delay happens, it's going to stop the animating. Let's see how that looks here. All right, so did we see it?
Really small.
Is it because did we miss it or was it?
No, we didn't. It was really small.
Oh, so it was in there. Well, let's see. It should be. Let's see here.
But you can't really tell if it changed.
If it changed, right? Let's see. Okay, so of course we're not going to see it in there. Let's try it again. Okay, so I didn't see it in there. Here's why. This delay is not, it doesn't delay the whole code. So what's nice about that is that you can have something being delayed and you can go around and do other things while that's being delayed. So in order to get it to stop animating, it actually needs to be in this delay block right here. Okay? And it's going to want to do self.that. So let's just go ahead and throw this in here too. Okay, start animating before the delay. Let's try that again.
Not if I step in first. Thanks, Rabbit.
Okay, oh, there it is. Boom. All right. Also, I think when you say something new, it should erase automatically what it said. I think that would make it look a little... So right where it says... So I'm going to start this animating right before that. I'm also going to do that label, the response label, dot text. Remember, how do we erase it? We put in a blank string, right? Okay? So... Hopefully no one's like installed one of those like keystroke monitoring like, you know, spywares in your device and they're just like, why is this guy constantly saying he's gonna stab somebody? FBI is like all over this. Okay, good. See how it erased and then went, not if I stabbed you first. Okay, excellent.
Also like the police show up.
So here's the thing. Okay. There's this kind of general idea in code where, first of all, you want to just get it working any way you can. That's kind of main one. But the second part would be to not like repeat yourself if you don't. Now, in each one of these, for each one of these cases, I always want to clear the response field, or I always want to clear the response label. I always want the indicator to start animating. I always want there to be a delay. And then I want it to say something. And then I want the indicator to stop. Now, the only thing what's keeping me from just copying this exact same thing here into every statement? What's maybe the only thing that's going to be different in this code?
What do you mean?
Oh, the text.
The text, right? Each time it's going to say something different, but it's still going to do all this stuff. So one thing I can do is I can make a variable for what we want the response to be. So if up here, and you make a variable in here, you just say var response. I'm just going to initialize it. It's just going to be blank right now. It's going to be of type string. And you always, when you're doing variables up here, in iOS, it's always like wants that exclamation point. It's not just here's a variable of type string. It's here's a variable of type string.
What if the variable actually has an exclamation mark at the end?
Like it's a string that has something. So if it was an actual string, then I would say like then it would be something like this,
Oh, wait,
like,
that was just the type.
hello. Exactly, that was just the type. So here, yeah. And we have the colon, string, exclamation point, string. Okay, now this response, since I put it up here, and this is the same in Android too. If you put variables up right below the class and right above the view did load thing, then you can basically access them anywhere. So here, what I can do is instead of text equals this, I'll say text equals response. And response isn't anything right now, so here I'll just say what it is. So like, how about response equals not if I stab you first, right? Okay, so again, that self thing. All right, so then what I can do is I can pull this whole thing out and I can put it into another function. So let's call it, so if I'm going to cut this, right? Because this is all repeatable stuff. Down here, I'm going to make a new function. I'm going to say function, say update text or update chat. Okay? And functions, a lot of times they'll have those little parentheses, and then they've got an open and closed curly brace. And now I'm going to type this in here. So basically now every time I type update chat, it's going to do all of that. So it's going to be a lot less text to type in. So here, once I've set the response, now I can just say update chat. Boom. Over here, I want response. So now I just have to the only difference between these conditions now is the actual response. Update chat. Response equals that, and then update chat. Now I can get that. Let's run this now and just make sure that this works for all of them. Okay. To stab you. Not if I stab you first. Oops. Oh, what's favorite food? Rabbit stew. Okay, good. So that does everything. Yeah, there is. So if we wanted shorter delay, so now, again, the nice thing about having it in that function here is instead of having separate delays for all of them, I can just do it here. So if I wanted a shorter one, I can just do that maybe 1 second. Why is it not liking that? You don't like that? Missing argument for parameter 1. No, you're not. Okay. Sometimes, if you have a number in and you just put like 1 or an integer, like, and it's like acting crazy, try to just put like, okay, fine, 1.0. And then it's like, oh yeah, I like that better. Sometimes it's because if it's expecting like an integer, sometimes it's expecting what's called a double, which is like a decimal type thing. So if you put an integer in, it's like, that's not a double, that's, you know, and you're like, fine, 1.0. Boom, and it'll fix it sometimes. Okay, so now let's try it again with the faster delay. Okay, so that was 1 second. Did you notice that was a little quicker? Or? Okay. Awesome. So now, what we want to do, we just have a little more, is I want to just show you how you might kind of do a login screen. And it's almost exactly how you've been doing it for your Yelp apps. It's very similar. So, the first thing, in Android Studio, we have activities. Here we have view controllers. So this is your view controller. So what I want to do is I'm just going to drag in another view controller. If I wanted to start on that one, I just drag this little arrow right there. And that's nice, huh? And then if I go to, so I'm going to get my background. Here's my login field here, right? This is like when you guys drag on an image view and then you populate it with the SRC. Here you can do the same thing, or you can just drag it right on. Okay, so again, I'm going to need a couple fields, a couple text fields. Right, I can option drag this to clone it. Okay, and I'm going to need a button.
I want to be very clear about what I need to be done because we felt like
okay, so again, now this one, Android Studio automatically gives you a Java file every time that you create a new view controller. In iOS, you actually have to create the actual file, yeah. So it's not like a big deal, but that is kind of nice about Android, the one thing. No, I'm just kidding. Source, okay, that. Good, so we'll call this login. Okay, create. All right, so now I have to link them. So I'm going to click up here. Login view controller. Boom, now that's linked.
Guys, this checkup is only 3 pages long, so
okay, so here's my login view controller. So now if I want to, so when I click this button, I want it to log us in to the next screen. So here's what I have to do. Where you guys have those intents, in this one it's called segues. So if I click up here and I click Control Drag, I can make a segue. I'm going to choose modal here. That is basically sort of that intent, and I can. So I've got to name this, and I'm going to say this one is login segue. And now on my button, I'm going to drag an action. This is like when you did the public void. This is you can make it on iOS by dragging here. Control here. Boom. It's going to be an action. I'm going to say did press login. And when I press login, I want it to do this thing. So you did like new intent, intent I. This one is called perform segue with identifier. Identifier is login segue. Okay.
iOS looks a lot more friendly.
Yeah, I think it is.
Maybe it was just the psychopathic, cannibalistic
Yes, how advisory.
I've had a problem all this time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Here,
hold on.
I was trying to create a new activity.